Welcome to Safe and Effective, Dare to Question. I'm your host, Nico Lagan, and today I'm joined by vaccine injured Michael Oesch. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I mean, considering I'm living in long-term care, I'm relatively in good shape and health today.
I want to thank you for doing this because I know it's not easy. We've spoken prior or we emailed prior to this, and you probably will only be able to join us for half an hour because of your condition. So I really
Mhm.
appreciate it. I appreciate your time. And I want to get right in it. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the expression safe and effective?
Well, it's funny because I grew up when I was very young, I had allergies, and I used to get these allergy shots as a kid every week. And you know what? I went from being allergic to penicillin, being allergic to flour, having to eat specialty food at a very young age. I trusted these things. I trusted medicine. We live in Canada where, insulin was created to stop, people and it's incredible what medicine has done. And trusting in medicine is one thing, but trusting in the vaccine, the COVID vaccines and some of the other vaccines that aren't necessarily tested, I've become very skeptical.
So I just want to make sure I heard you right. Do you still, even though what happened to you, and we'll get into it in a minute,
No, no,
you still have trust in vaccines as a whole, or is it all the same to you now?
it's not all the same. There are certain vaccines that can be beneficial if they're tried and tested and true, that take away TB and other diseases. But what I do have problems with is the COVID vaccines. And I don't even think they should be called vaccines personally. They're genetic modifications that have been happening and are happening to the human genome. I'm no geneticist. I can't really speak scientifically about it, although I've studied it. I'd really just be parroting what I've learned. Um, but I've learned a lot. I've experienced it. I've seen what's happened to me going through hours of spasms, like for months, having 7 hours of spasms every day and having your body shaking, losing the ability to walk, losing the ability to use your hands sometimes. Like right now, my hands are all curled up. There are things I can do to rebuild my mitochondrial energy, what's happening with me. And what I found and talked to other people who are vaccine injured is the mitochondrial energy we lose, the ability for our body to reproduce mitochondrial like normal people, because the belief that spike proteins are sitting on our ACE2 receptors, preventing us from creating mitochondrial. This is what general science is starting to learn and talk about, or not talk about in some cases.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but prior to your condition, you actually took 4 COVID vaccines.
That's correct, yes.
And then after the fourth one, you develop transverse myelitis. Is that right?
Well, that's what they call it, although it's atypical transverse myelitis. So transverse myelitis basically means that there are lesions across my spine. But in most cases, it happens in young kids, and it is an immediate and sometimes reversible, but very seldom ever is it a progressive disease. Where what happened to me is after my vaccine, the first incident happened within 34 hours. And I could still walk for the next few months. And the farther I walked, the more I get tired. And that window of energy keeps depleting to the point where 9 months ago, I was laying in a bed and could not move. And it's that at that point, we started looking at it. Okay, this is a mitochondrial dysfunction that I'm dealing with.
So,
And go
no, go
ahead.
ahead. No. I thought you were done. Go ahead, please.
Well, I mean, the mitochondrial dysfunction, some people call it post-exertional malaise, some kind of just, I can't get out of bed. I'm so tired. Why can't I do this? And I'm sure you've heard of hundreds of people who are dealing with this. They have no outward sign of it. With me, it's very obvious. I've been paralyzed by this. But with a lot of people, it's not that bad. there's no outward expression of it. They just can't get up and do stuff. And they're mocked. They're denied any kind of claim. The idea of being diagnosed with long COVID in Canada is really not possible. Insurance companies don't necessarily recognize it as a disease or as a condition. And it's happening to so many people who've developed a spike protein infection as a result of either these vaccines or the COVID virus itself.
One of the things that you mentioned on one of your videos is that after your fourth vaccine, when you started developing your condition, your doctor told you not to take another COVID vaccine. He admitted that your condition was because of those COVID vaccines, yet refused to diagnose you as vaccine injured. Is that right? Did I hear that correctly?
The doctor basically said, don't take another vaccine. I think they're dangerous. But they couldn't report it because there was no medical evidence they could report. At that time, there was no way to measure a spike protein infection. They did get me to file an adverse effect of immunization, which I did file. And they did tell me to, eventually file for the vaccine injury support program, which I did. I sent off 400 pages of medical diagnosis of what happened to me and was denied. I was denied in March of this year from the vaccine injury support program. Based on the balance of probability was the wording of the letter. It was really nicely stated. Not that you don't have it, but based on the balance of probability that because of the fact that here's what they said, that there was no expression of gadolinium in my MRI, sorry. Because of that, the likelihood of me having transverse myelitis as the result of that vaccine, based on one study and 8 patients, denied me my claim. And it's ridiculous. I'm going to go back. I'm going to appeal. The problem with the vaccine injury support program here in Canada is it was run as a third party, outsourced from the public liability of the government because they didn't have the bureaucracy to do it during the pandemic. So they farmed it out. And the problem is that company acted like an insurance company. Over the course of 4 years, they billed $56 million in administrative costs and gave out less than $15 million. That's just a joke at that point, and I think it was less than 7% of the people who applied got actual claims. The rest were denied. And I was amongst that. And I'm appealing right now. The good thing is the government took it back under their stead and they got rid of the vaccine injury support program. And there's now something called the Vaccine Impact Assistance Program. And it's run by the government, by the federal government, by bureaucrats, not by some corporation who's trying to make money. And I'm hoping I'm going to appeal with medical evidence that I'm supporting and showing that this is a vaccine injury. And I'm hoping that bureaucrats, here's the funny thing is, I hope bureaucrats don't care about where the money goes and want to do the right thing. And we'll leave it at that. I'm not going to diss a program that hasn't been off the ground for a month yet, but I'm segueing in my optimism of things.
I want to go back to your doctor for a minute because I definitely want to address what you said about the vaccine injury support program. But before we do that, I really want to go back to your doctor because it is something that I've heard time and time again. I've had a woman by the name of Michelle Wharton on the show. I don't know if you know her out of BC.
Yes.
So she developed a massive brain injury from the COVID vaccine. Doctors refused to diagnose her condition as vaccine injured. She had to go to the US in order to get her brain operated on. And now her new MLA fought for her. And she actually is getting the treatment, which is $10,000 a month. So she's finally getting the treatment that she deserved. Why do you think, in your opinion, as someone that has gone through it, is it so hard for doctors to admit that vaccines can be very problematic and that
But
they do cause serious injuries, that they might not be as safe as effective as we're being
Nico,
told they
here's
are.
the thing. You just said it. The doctors believe, but they can't admit it because their college of physicians have refused for them to be able to write the word vaccine injured in their reports. So that, I mean, my doctor, you know what? She wants to do the right thing, but she's not willing to give up her house, her career, and everything, and be disbarred like so many doctors already have. And it's that fear. Doctors are just people like you and I, and they want to do the right thing. You know what? When I went to the hospital, I had an emergency room doctor walk up to me and hand me this piece of paper with the artist protocol on it. And he said, that if you've been vaccine injured, here's the artist protocol. He wrote it down for me. He handed it to me, and he said, there, and he walked away with it. He wanted to help me, but he's also got to worry about his job. And that's the truth of it. It's a fear programming that happened around this COVID thing. And the reality of it is just follow the money. Follow the money.
So basically, I want to repeat, I tend to repeat what people tell me to make sure that I understood them properly. Basically, what you're saying is that the doctors that you've personally dealt with will not respect the oath that they took to do no harm. So even though that they know that this can be problematic, that there are injuries caused by those vaccines, being you being the perfect example, they will protect themselves instead of doing the right thing. That's what I'm hearing.
There are things that their licensing board doesn't allow them to do. And that's the truth. If you're a naturopathic doctor in Ontario, you're not allowed to use the word vaccine injured, and that comes from their College of Physicians.
Do you?
And
I'll
so
go
I
ahead.
can't, and it doesn't, I mean, that's just the reality of the medical system we're in. I don't want to worry about the problems. I spent way too much time worrying about the problems. I'm looking for solutions. And the fact is, what it went through and the government that was in charge and how they handled it is the past. How do we move forward through this in dealing with it and helping the people out there who have vaccine injuries? And I'm worried about talking about the solutions, finding ways to get rid of the spike protein. And for me, that's the big thing, is education. I can't fight the government. I can't fight the pharmaceutical companies. There's not a chance I'd ever win. So why would I waste my energy doing that, Nico?
I don't disagree with you that arguing or talking about the problems without speaking about solutions is a way forward. I completely agree with you. We need to find solutions. But my first solution is, as you said, education. But how
Mhm.
can you educate the public if the people that we hold to a higher standard, our doctors, don't have the courage to say what they need to hear? And this is my problem. Because I interview a lot of doctors. I've interviewed a lot of doctors like the Mark Trozis of this world that said the right things, unfortunately cost them their career. I refused to take the vaccine, and I'm a sales engineer by trade. So I was making a lot of money doing something that I was very good at. And because I refused to take it, I lost my career. So I have no shame in calling a spade when looking at doctors and saying, hey, we put you on a pedestal because we believe that you know better. But with great knowledge comes great responsibility. And it bothers me that doctors are still don't have the courage to stand up, because you might not be able to change the medical system as a regular person, or even though what you've been through, which to me, you're the perfect person to change the system. But imagine if the doctors started to follow the path of a Dr. Mark Trozi and say, you know what, I will not. The world could change overnight, but we can't do it alone. That's why I'm bringing this up, because they are part. Not only are they part of the problem, but they're part of the solution as well.
Well, I don't know if they want to find an allopathic solution to the spike protein infection.
Now you're
I think
opening up a completely different can of worm here.
No, it's the truth. Like, I mean, all the solutions I've had to deal with the spike protein are naturopathic. I mean, methylene blue. When I started taking methylene blue and augmented NAC, within 5 days, my hands opened up again. I was able to sit in a wheelchair again for the first time in months. I started being able to work out. I added red light therapy, stem cell patches to help me specifically with the neurodegeneration that I'm having, because the way this has affected me, the spike protein has affected me, is neurological. And that's not the only way it can affect human body. It can affect it respiratorily wise, cardiovascular, turbo cancers. There's so many ways that we're starting to realize the spike protein is affecting the human genome. I mean, I am no expert, and once again, I'm just reading scientific papers, and that's what I spend most of my time doing, is looking at doing those type of things to help dealing with that. I've recently started using CBD and CBG and a little bit of THC in controlled quantities. And I'm a person who quit smoking weed 20 years ago. I'm a former addict. I quit smoking weed, but I went back to it because it's medicine if used properly. You know, I'm considering psilocybin. There's papers out there that show psilocybin as a way for helping neurodegeneration. I'm considering it. I've consulted doctors around the world about how to actually take a dose. I'm not just going to go take mushrooms and go out into the woods and go around on my wheelchair and do spins. Although, here's the thing I really want to do, Nico. Do you know
You
what I
would
really want
enjoy
to
it.
do?
I'm just saying you would enjoy it.
Well,
I
here's the thing is, I'm the perfect person to do nonviolent civil protest. I pull up in a wheelchair. Arrest me. Come on, arrest me. Just please, Nico, just arrest me in a wheelchair. So what I want to do is I want to spin. I want to do these online kind of protests where I go to a intersection, me and a few people, and we just spin for 2 cycles of the lights. And I'm going to wear a t-shirt that says vaccine injured, and we'll broadcast it live. These type of social demonstrations is what we need to start doing again, is to actually get out there and do these demonstrations. And it doesn't, you don't have to blow up something. You don't have to march 10,000 people down the road. That's old school thinking, All you got to do out there is do these short little viral videos that you do out there. And you don't need to disrupt the world. You just need to disrupt the internet. And that's the medium is the message.
You're talking to a guy that creates content for a living. So yes, I fully understand. I fully
Oh,
understand the power of social media.
I mean, I've done rock videos. I've done infomercials. I've spent my year doing media and archives. That's what my life has been. And, Canadian archives are my favorite archives. Ever been to the McCord Museum in Montreal?
I want to go back for a second to the vaccine injury support program because you mentioned something that I don't want to say kind of blew my mind, but I'd like you to explain a bit where you were going with this because it used to be called the vaccine injury support program. It used to be
Correct.
run by a third party company that, as you said, had a refusal rate of something like 95%. Those are the numbers I
93.2%, I think, was the exact number. And that
like,
was sometime last year.
which is absolutely ludicrous.
It's
But
larger than most insurance companies.
you said something though that obviously, as you mentioned, your application was denied. You're gonna appeal it, but you seem to indicate that it's better for the government to take care of such a program because bureaucrats won't care because it's not their money. Can you explain how you felt when you heard that the government was taking it back, that they were basically going to make 15 years of cases private? They're putting a lot of they're gonna hide a lot of information that they've obtained through the VIS program in order to keep it away from requests like journalists like me would make in order to obtain them. But why do you have faith in such a program ran by the government, considering that I can't name one single program right now that the government has done better than a private entity?
I think I said the word seguin more than faith. All I can do is appeal. I have no control over that. What's beyond that is beyond that. And I'm focusing on my solutions, finding ways to walk again. I can't fight that battle. I wish I could. All I can do is follow the regulations that are there. And here's the thing is, what really pisses me off right now is that they haven't even listed how to properly do the appeals yet. So I'm in this political limbo between having my case, given to me tonight on March the 9th, told me I had to May the 9th to get my appeal in. But because on April 1st of this year, it's now the Vaccine Impact Assistance Program. They want me to call in and find out when those 90 days start so that I can get my appeal. They won't even call me. So I phoned back and I asked for a pizza.
What's your path forward right now? What are you doing that will make you better if the government is not there to help you? What are the paths that you're?
There's not much path forward. I'm paralyzed. It's life. What can I do with this life? I think is more important. You know what? I'm doing better photography now than I've ever done in my entire life. It's I look at this as a learning situation. I've walked across the country. I've seen amazing things. I've done amazing things, like I said. What is it that I can do in this life? And you know what? It's kind of interesting hanging out with my two neighbors. They're both 99-year-old women. And I spend my time just taking care of them. It's a weirdly beautiful experience that I've had to slow down and experience. And living in long-term care, I'm becoming the resident of the future. I'm helping out here at the Dundas place because they're having to deal with all these things regarding social media and taking photographs and having Wi-Fi, and there's no really residents like me. I focus on what I can do to change the world where I am, and I always have. I can't deny the fact that I'm paralyzed. It kind of pisses me off, although I'll tell you something, Nico. You'll be jealous. I have different women from all over the world who wash my balls every day.
I gotta say, it's amazing to see somebody that's still going through what you've gone through and able to laugh at it and see the good side of things, because most people do not see the future to be bright when they're that injured, because it's a life-changing experience, I would imagine. So good for you. But I want to show something. I found something on your Facebook, and I'm starting to understand that video more and more after speaking to you. But I'd like for you to describe this video. I'm going to play it. From my understanding, you were a musician before. You've played a lot of instrument. And last month, well, in March, my apologies, you posted a video of you playing an instrument for the first time in God knows how long. And you seem like such a happy person that I would love for you to explain what went through you, what you felt when you recorded this right here.
Let's listen to it.
Can you hear it? Can you hear the video?
I cannot.
Yeah, I can't hear it either. Not sure why. Hold on, let's try that. That is really, really a good video.
It was incredible. Like they set up this theremin, which is a instrument that you don't really need to touch to play.
Yeah.
It works on the proximity of my fingers and hands to it. And I could actually play music again. Like I said, I played music for 40 years of my life, 45 years of my life. And do we hear it now? Let's see.
No, still can't hear it, can it? Can you?
Oh.
That is very interesting. Hold on. Yeah, you should be able to hear it. That's very strange. I don't know why it's not allowed.
It goes in the machine. But it was amazing, dude.
I'll try to download the video. If you want to explain to us what went through, I'll try to download it.
Okay. It was kind of incredible being able to play music again for the first time in over 2 years. It was like something had been taken away from me, and For me, it was a way of expression. Music was always a way to express myself. If I was sad, I'd play something sad. If I was happy, I'd play something happy. And it had been taken away from me. And it was like, I mean, imagine the two things that you're known for. I was known as a musician, I was known for walking across the country. And those two things were robbed from me. Um, and I mourned the loss of them, almost like you'd mourn the loss of a child. And I got to play music again for the first time, and I played the theremin, and I got these really deep notes and this really funky sound going, and I could control it. And it was like I could speak again, and it made me cry actually almost after just having that feeling again, and realizing that there are things within my grasp that I can still get. So it's pretty incredible.
I never
Yeah,
thought I'd play music again.
yeah, get funky and get low.
Well, there you have it. It didn't seem to be playing properly, does it? I wasn't hearing it
It was, it
properly.
was a bit it was a bit glitchy, but it was fine. Yeah, it's funny taking a different perspective on life, and I've always done that. Um, I could dwell on everything that's happened to me and the anger that you do go through, but I letting go of that anger is very liberating, and learning to use what you have to be the voice. And it's funny, like, yeah, I'm disabled. I'm living in a long-term care house. Um, I'm the baby again. It's funny because they get me, like, remember when you were a kid and your parents would ask you to program the VCR? I'm that kid again here. I'm the youngest person on the unit, and they're like, Michael, how do you change the TV? So I'm still doing that, and it's neat to experience this part of my life, because here's the thing, Nico, we all are going to die. That is inevitable. But are we truly going to live? And I've always taken that expression in life. After walking across this country, I learned that every breath makes a difference, and it doesn't matter when or why or how. But to do it for the good of others. And I'll give you an experience I had, Nico. When I was walking across Alberta, I was walking across the highway, and those crosses on the side of the road that you always see. I would stop and I would clear the flowers away from those crosses just so that people could see them still. And I stopped at one, and there was a quote that I carry with me to this day, and it says, "I expect to pass through this world but once. Any kindness that I can do, or any joy I can show any other fellow creature, let me do it now, for I shall not pass this way again." And I carry that with me, and it doesn't matter where I am or what I'm doing. If I carry that kind of an attitude with me, um, I can change myself, and in doing so, change the world around me. And I think that's the most important thing to remember, is that you still have abilities to change the world. But you don't get it by stamping your feet. You don't get it by crying. You get it by giving. And that's the biggest thing that I can give. And I tell you, that battery, that cell phone that used to have, it used to say it was 100%. And then you look at it an hour later, and now it's down to 5%. That's me. That's where I'm sitting right now. I got about 5% left in my battery, and I'm going to need to take a little break. But Nico, thank you so much for inviting me on your show. I really, really enjoyed this.
Can I ask you one single thing, and it's for the people out there? If you do have 5%, can you tell, can you speak directly to the Canadians out there that are still dismissing vaccine injuries or vaccine injured, and tell them what you would like them to understand?
Yeah, it's a disease we don't understand any more than we did like AIDS back in the 80s when it first came out. We're starting to understand how the spike protein can uh, harbor inside of a body and just totally decimate someone. Uh, believe people when they say they're tired and they can't do that. They're not lazy. This is something that we believe is out there, and there's testing coming. And I'm hoping that more people can take these tests very soon. But in the meantime, just breathe deep. If you're feeling really deep, the greatest thing I found is something in 1998 for medicine, the Nobel Prize was given to the understanding of nitric oxide. And what we do understand, nitric oxide helps take spike protein off the ACE2 receptor. So all you have to do is breathe deep.
Meditation.
And hum. No, hum. Humming vibrates a membrane behind your nasal cavity, which produces 40% more nitric oxide. And I can tell you that if I do that, in about 25 minutes, I'll be up and have another few hours in my battery. So I need to go hum, Nico.
I appreciate your time, Michael. You are an inspiration. I love meeting people like you. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for who you are, and all the best to you.
Thank you, Nico.